Hello friends. In my last video, we understood why we get judgmental. Very often, behind the judgment lies anger. So today, I want to discuss anger. I'd like to discuss it from many different angles. As human beings, intrinsically, we are all geared towards kindness, generosity, compassion, love. Yes, I did use the word all. Every human being at the intrinsic level, at the core level, is geared for that. Even that person whom you have judged as unkind or miserly or cruel, even that person at the core level is geared exactly as you are. And even though you may not see it in their actions, I can assure you that there are persons in their lives who do see this kindness, who do see this generosity, who do see this compassion. In fact, a few days ago, I saw a YouTube video, a documentary about a Nazi SS officer who fell in love with a Jewish girl. And his love for that Jewish girl made him more compassionate towards the Jews. He became less cruel. So there were changes that took place in him because the core remains the same for all human beings. So when we see something on the outside that very deeply goes against our core beliefs, our core values, we want to set it right. That is the first response for any of us. We want to set it right. If we cannot set it right, if there is something that stands in our way, for example, if it is too big for us to set right on a personal level, let us say, our reaction is one of complete frustration. Our efforts at changing something that at a core level we believe is wrong causes such tremendous frustration that it is expressed as anger. Now, interestingly, my cosmic master JadeFire calls this anger that comes out of frustration because you cannot set something right as productive anger, constructive anger. And he says it is this anger that the human world has used in all times of history and shall continue to use even in the future in order to set things right. But he hastens to remind us about something that he has said over and over again. We need to be mindful that this right and wrong is a judgment call, is a value judgment that we are making in keeping with our own value systems, which are absolutely appropriate for us. And he says this mindfulness is extremely important to your consequent actions. So, when does anger become a destructive force? When does anger become not productive at all? When anger turns into violence, when it turns into abuse, when it turns into entitlement, into judgment, these are all very non productive forms of anger. They are unable to make you take the appropriate actions that you otherwise could have taken in order to set something right. In fact, these non productive forms of anger only bring back to you destructive forces. That destructive anger that you feel within you does nothing to that person, does nothing to further your cause of setting things right. It, in fact, harms you. First, emotionally, mentally, psychologically, and then, if that destructive anger should continue to be within you, should persist to live within you, then it also begins to harm you physically. Anger is a very, very potent energy. It is a very, very strong emotion, which, if it is contained, if it is held in balance, it can make huge changes, not only in your personal life, but in the fabric of social life as well. But it is such a strong energy that each one of us has to train ourselves. We have to learn how to contain that energy. When we react to situations with self-righteousness, with entitlement, with irritability, with violence, with judgmentalism, we are giving this strong energy within us the permission to explode. Once this explodes, to bring it back into containment is an extremely difficult task. Once this energy explodes, it goes out of your control. Your mind now does not have the control over anger. Anger now has control over you. And that is where the problems begin. Because anger begins to rule who you are as a human being. And because it is such a potent energy, anger spreads very quickly into all areas of your life, eventually finding its outlet as a physical disease or illness. Like all other emotions, anger is universal. There is not one amongst us who does not experience anger. I know, I have heard a few people say, you know what, Elle, I'm really not an angry person. Things don't annoy me. I don't get angry. The truth is not that you don't get angry. The truth is that you are not overreactive. The one you might be calling an angry person might be an overreactive person. So we all react to anger, and some overreact to anger. So when we see tantrums, when we see shouting and screaming, that is an overreaction to anger. In fact, there are those who suppress anger so effectively that they are often unaware that they are angry. This has happened to me on multiple occasions when I am in sessions with clients. On the outside, they look perfectly calm. But when I, as an intuit, scan their energies, I can pick up that simmering force within them. And this passive anger is actually very, very harmful. It is harmful to the person. Passive anger can bring about depression, can bring about acute states of lethargy, where you just don't want to do anything. It can bring about illnesses and diseases, most definitely. It can bring about a complete lack of motivation. It can bring about an anxiety that you do not even know is stemming from that passive anger. It can bring about sleeplessness. It can bring about emotional binging. It can bring about addictions, alcoholism, self-harm, self-sabotage. Passive anger can really cause you great harm. The one thing to remember is that if there is something you perceive as wrong, or if someone is treating you with constant aggression, humiliating you, undermining you, to be angry is not something that makes you a bad person. To be angry is a very, very normal human reaction. But due to whatever other inner child issues you might have, you suppress that anger. You refuse to allow yourself to express it. You suppress it so deeply that you do not even allow yourself to know that you're angry, and that happens sometimes. And this passive anger builds up like a pressure cooker within you and can cause you, as I said earlier, much harm. If you recognize yourself as someone like this, then you need anger management just as urgently as someone else who cannot control their anger. And why should you seek this help? Because anger is that one force that can destroy any and every relationship. It brings pain into your life. It destroys your peace, your serenity. It not only causes you pain, but you then begin to cause others pain. And you might do this very actively, or again, you might do this very subtly. Remember, anger is an emotion, is a force that you can use in order to make positive changes. Positive changes in your life, positive changes in the lives of others. Let me repeat this again so you don't forget it, so you don't feel guilty or ashamed about being angry. Anger is an emotion, is a force that you can use. You can take its help to make positive changes in your life and in the lives of others. So let's understand how we can use anger constructively. Your anger has already provided you with the evidence that you care enough about something, that you care very deeply about something, that you care deeply enough in order to seek a change. Always, of course, remembering that this caring, this concern, this need for change comes from your value system. But your anger shows that you care enough to want to bring about a change. And that is good. If your anger is directed towards bringing about a change that is beneficial not only for you, but for all others around you, then you are using your anger constructively. And because it is such a strong force, it needs something that is even stronger than it that can contain it, that can ensure that it is not going to be an unrestrained, undisciplined, irrational, explosive, aggressive expression and outlet. To contain something that is strong, you need something stronger. And we have to understand, what is this that we need? What is this that we already have? The universe is amazing. It created us as human beings with this emotion of anger. And just as every human being is able to be kind, is able to be generous, every human being can be angry from time to time. But because it created us as human beings with this anger, with this ability to get angry, it also gave us something else, much stronger than anger, that could help us to contain this anger. Remember, friends, the only way to make positive changes is to ensure that your anger is contained. It is only when anger is contained that it can be directed appropriately. And if it is not directed appropriately, it's like a bomb that bursts in all directions. Its shrapnel goes everywhere. So if you care enough about making that change, then you must care enough to learn how to master anger. You must care enough to learn to teach yourself till you have learnt it very well, to teach yourself to contain that anger and then to direct it appropriately in a disciplined manner. So, what is this thing that is stronger than anger that you and I already have? It is our inner divine cosmic wisdom. The divine core that exists within each one of us. There is not one human being in this world who doesn't have that divine core. And the essence of that divine core is exactly the same in all human beings. Your divine core is exactly the same in essence, in strength, as the divine core essence of the person you might be angry with, you might be judging. That divine core opens you up, if you should choose this, opens you up to divine wisdom, to divine understanding, to divine right action, to divine recognition. None of this needs to be taught to us. It is as natural to us as the process of inhalation and exhalation. But we have to consciously choose to live within and by the direction and guidance of this divine core. We have to choose to not allow ourselves to be completely drowned in the material existence. The drowning in material existence causes an unrestrained, undisciplined anger expression. If you have turned into the aggressor, you, my dear friend, have lost all right to claim that the other person who you are seeing as aggressor is wrong. You have lost that right. Please understand the word aggressor very carefully. An aggressor is not only someone who is violent or abusive or attacks. When you throw a tantrum, you are an aggressor. When you talk in self-righteous terms, placing yourself superior to another, you are an aggressor. When you behave in an entitled manner, you are an aggressor. When you judge another, you are an aggressor. Now you will catch me and you'll say that, you've already said that anger is based upon value judgments and that it is fine to do that. I repeat that. Anger is based upon value judgments and it is fine. It is not only fine, it is good when it is a constructive anger. But that inner divine core of wisdom, of light, of understanding, of recognition will immediately tell you that constructive anger is directed at a situation, at an action, at an event. It is not directed against another human being. when it is directed against a human being, that strong energy of divine wisdom, divine light, divine recognition is absent. You look at another human being as a perpetrator of evil. You do not see, you become blind to, you do not recognize, you are not wise to their inner divine core. And when that takes place, anger turns destructive. When you see or hear of one person murdering or grievously causing harm to another human being, you are seeing that destructive force of anger that does not have the stronger element of divine wisdom, that is not contained by the stronger element of divine light and recognition. And therefore, that strong force of anger has exploded. You can choose to be a critic. You can choose to be an activist. You can choose to join a cause, to start a movement, to take a stance against something that you intrinsically believe is going against your core values. You have the right to do that because you are a discerning human being with a mind. You have the right to do that. But you do not have the right to condemn another human being. You do not have the right to harm another human being, however underhanded and subtle your harm might be. You might not choose to harm a person aggressively, overtly, but if you are harming that person, manipulating that person, or manipulating the environment in order to harm that person, the harm is the same. And when this element of divine wisdom, divine light, divine recognition is not active within you, when the anger is being directed at the person or persons rather than the actions, rather than the situations and events, your karmic book, my dear, dear friend, is filled with as many black marks as the one you are judging, as the one you are angry with. And that is why you lose the divine right to claim that you are saying or doing something in order to make a positive change, because you are not making any positive change. There is absolutely nothing wrong with value judgments. Yes, granted, your value judgments may be entirely different from my own. And one of the important aspects of divine wisdom is the aspect of respect. Your value judgment is different from my own. I respect you as a human being, and I respect you as a human being that has the same divine core essence as I do. But if I see or experience something around me in my environment that goes against my divine core values, I have the right to express that this is so. I have the right to express my constructive anger and to direct it in a direction that will bring about a positive change. In fact, value judgments right through history have been the reason why we as a human race have evolved so much. There were times we were barbaric. There were times when it was accepted by everyone that women should be and could be ill-treated. There were times when it was accepted that animals are nothing but our possessions and we can treat them as cruelly or as kindly as we decide. Today, those concepts have evolved. Of course, there are those who still continue to behave in manners that we find barbaric or evil or cruel. Even as we say these words, we should know that we are being judgmental. But if you wish to make those positive changes, you have to be the one who must change first. If you honestly, truthfully find yourself being abusive, humiliating someone, being disrespectful, acting in an entitled manner, resorting to stridency, violence, whether the violence is of thought, word, or deed, then you must first work upon yourself. You must first change that inner environment. Because an inner environment that is so filled with the unrestricted, unrestrained, uncontrolled, undisciplined anger energy will not be the right environment to contain the anger, to turn it from destructive to constructive. So first you have to work on your inner environment. And for that, you can take the help of a therapist, take the help of anger management classes, take the help of a spiritual mentor, but change that inner environment in whatever way most appeals to you. You are aware that our every word, our every action reveals who we are. We may not be aware of this consciously, but it reveals who we are. It reveals our value system. It reveals our authentic value system, not the one we would like to project and portray to others. And if your words are harsh and mean and unforgiving and judgmental, then it reveals who you are within. It reveals the value system that you are living by. And furthermore, your every word, your every thought, your every action is being evaluated constantly, moment by moment, by your higher self. And your higher self is evaluating what you deserve. What is the reality that you deserve in your life? What is the reality that your inner energy system can support? You may pray as much as you want. You may work very deeply with the law of attraction. But if your words and thoughts and deeds are unkind, unforgiving, unrecognizing of the divine light of others, your life will not be one that shall be able to support your highest dreams. Whether these dreams be material dreams or spiritual dreams. If for no one else, and truly, personal work is only for ourselves. Change your thoughts, your words, your actions. Let them support your goals, your spiritual goals, your material goals. Your life has the same energy as that which you put out through your thoughts, words, and actions. And that energy crucible has to be strong enough to support all your dreams. Otherwise, you shall receive only what that crucible can hold within it. I know this is very difficult. For a very long time, I battled with anger and rage. So I genuinely know what I'm talking about. I've lived it for many, many years. Have I completely won this battle? Not yet. Not yet. But the awakened divine core comes to my rescue, holds me, speaks to me with words of wisdom, and helps me to contain that anger instead of allowing it to explode like it used to when I was much younger. My cosmic master JadeFire has been of tremendous help in this. And he's taught me one, should I say, hack, a life hack. So let me share that life hack with you. Years ago, he taught me, turn anger from a noun into a verb. Now I understand why he would choose that language to communicate with me, because I have been a teacher of English for over 30 years in a high school. So he said, turn anger from a noun into a verb. I didn't quite understand what that meant, because anger is a noun, right? We feel it, we experience it, we can almost taste it, we can feel its heat, we can even see it. That's why this term, seeing red, getting hot under the skin, because these are truly the way the physical body changes with uncontained anger. So I said, how do I change that from a noun to a verb? It is a noun. And he said, don't be angry, do anger. In every given moment, JadeFire says, be only you. Don't be angry. Don't be kind. Don't be honest. Don't be angry. Don't be anything. Be you. And if that is your firm commitment to yourself, he says, you will almost always be your authentic self. And when you trip up, which will happen many times because you are a human being, you will have enough wisdom and enough strength in yourself to pick yourself up again and once again be the authentic you. So he says, be you and do anger. Be you and do anger. The first part is be you. That is that very strong, very potent force that we garner within ourselves. When we are being we, our authentic selves, that strong energy of the divine core, which is the strongest energy in this world. There is nothing stronger than the energy of divine core. That energy floods your system. And that energy creates a strong container through which the anger can flow. Once you have done this, once you have created this container by being you, now you can do anger, which means you take appropriate action. And your action may be very different from my action, but it neither makes your action wrong, nor does it make my action right. Your action is right for you, and my action is right for me. Once again, we must remember this before we force others to take action that is right for us. Because by forcing them to do what is right for us, we may actually be doing them a huge disservice. It is not easy to control our emotions. It is not impossible, but it is not easy. It is easier to control our actions. And that is what we are doing here when JadeFire says, do anger. When you do anger, when you take action, you have the choice to take the action that is appropriate for you, that aligns with your deep core value system, and that respects, honors, and expresses the divine core essence that is within. For someone, it might be taking very proactive steps, like joining an organization, writing letters, creating a movement, giving speeches, working with the government. holding debates. These are all very proactive measures. For some, those proactive measures may not work. For whatever reason, it is just not who they are. So these proactive measures may not work. Now, you have to take the action that is appropriate for you, not for anyone else. But if there is something that you care about deeply, don't be callously indifferent and don't be apathetically indifferent. Both come from an unhealthy ego space. They don't come from spirit. So if there is something that you care about very deeply, that really intrinsically seems to go against all your deep core values, take action. But remember the term, be you and take action. So be you first, then take action. Whatever action is appropriate for you. You may not take these proactive, large steps that put you into the limelight or make you have social highlights upon you. That may not make you comfortable. But you do have the ability. Each one of us has that ability. There is not one amongst us that doesn't have this ability. We can make changes with energy, starting by making changes with our own energies. Then finding like-minded people, people of the right spiritual temper, the most appropriate values that blend with ours, join together and begin a collective effort at shifting energy. I am sure you already know some ways to do it. If you don't, learn about them. Get more and more people involved in your group. Collective energy is always more powerful than personal energy. But for collective energy to be of the right spiritual temper, to make positive changes, each and every one in that group must work upon first shifting their own personal energies, so that the collective energy is a collective divine light, divine recognition, divine wisdom energy. Practical steps need an energy cradle which can give birth to the practical steps. And an energy cradle requires the practical steps so that energy can express itself in the material world through those practical steps. So everyone plays a part in making changes. The activist, the one who works with the government, the politician, the energy worker, the one who uses the law of attraction. Every single person makes a change. The poet, the artist, the songwriter, the author. There is not one amongst us who cannot be a part of a collective change. But before you can make that collective change, be you. And when that takes place, there are no tantrums, no judgments, no condemnation, no insult, no attack, no abuse. All of these aspects of unrestrained anger has only brought the world war and strife. If you are seeking to make positive changes outside of you, the journey must start with you. Remember what Gandhiji said. Be the change that you wish to make. Be the change. Be you and do anger. Big hug, my dear friends. All my love.